every year we bring out summer students from colleges all around the country, and you've worked with them for how many years?
9 years.
9 years. That's a lot of students. And what do you do with our students?
I do the editing and sometimes cinematography 101 seminar class. And I feel like what we're doing is giving the tools and some of the technologies and some of the best practices to go out and do that.
Yeah, well, let's show a film. It's sort of funny. We're talking about college students, but this first film is about grannies, raging grannies.
Yes.
And it's sort of, I think the spirit of it is that activism and civic enthusiasm never goes old.
No.
Let's take a look.
Tell them
Climate
about your
justice and
8-year-old.
Social justice. My granddaughter, who is about to turn 9, so on September 1st, has been very politically aware and is now losing sleep. It breaks my heart to even talk about it because she can't fall asleep at night because she's so worried about the political situation, and she's afraid of the current administration, and she's also a biracial girl, so she's even more concerned about what is happening, and it just breaks my heart. So if I can do anything to protect her and other children, no matter who they are, whose grandchildren they are, whose children they are, I'm going to do it, man, till my dying breath.
For all our children and men and women, no need for co-pays, farewell deductibles. This plan was made for you and me.
It's just in today's political climate, there's just one thing after another. I'm Judy Romano, and I'm 69 years old.
I'm Alice Shapiro. People often call me Allie. I am 71 years of age.
And I like 71 years of age.
Yes, because I don't feel old.
I don't either.
I don't feel old until I look in the mirror, and sometimes when I look in the mirror, it's like, Mom, what are you doing here? Oh, it's me.
So I was not tremendously active growing up. I think I was interested, but I didn't do a whole lot until joining the Raging Grannies. So for me, it's been a big change and a real positive one.
5, probably 6 years ago, there was a no Monsanto action, and I went there, and here comes this group of women in lovely costumes and hats carrying their banner that said Portland Raging Grannies, and I went, I found you. So I ran over when they were finished singing, and I said, I want to be there with you, and that was how that happened. So.
They were my age, and they were up there doing and singing these songs like, all we are saying is give peas a chance, give corn a chance. Anyway, I just went, I got to be part of this.
We got to solve it, get involved and do it now, now, now. We need to build a better future, and we need to start right now.
We don't have to memorize the songs.
That's right.
And we can make the print as big as we need. People start singing with us.
Yes.
The words get pretty clever. Don't ask me which ones because I
Right.
don't remember. They go wild for us. They really do. I've never had that in my life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's really something. So I think we're blowing any little old lady stereotypes because we're not.
Right now. Portland Raging Grannies.
We're just hot, you know.
We're hot, yes.
They want to be part of us. Do you know the expression for clamped?
Verklempt.
It's like you tear up, but you're not really crying. You just get very emotional at the Pride Parade. It is unbelievable. And the love that we're pouring out and the love that's coming to us. And we've often talked about how we probably represent to a lot of people who have come out, their grandparents or their mothers or aunts or whatever who haven't accepted them, and we're marching and accepting them. And the outpouring of love is just, sometimes I can hardly get the words out. I'm just really moved.
Y'all better give it up for my granny!
As an older white woman who's physically not very large, I have a lot more latitude. I'm not as likely to be targeted. I can speak, even though sometimes I know I don't represent, and I haven't walked in the shoes of people of color or of immigrants. I can still use my voice, and I won't be put down. I won't be silenced as quickly. I won't be arrested as quickly. I won't feel threatened as quickly. Yes, we cannot deny our privilege. We have this privilege, and now let's use it to the good.
When we're out there and younger people are out there, we're in this together.
Yes.
And we're retired women, we could be, just sitting back and playing bridge and eating bonbons, but we're not just doing that. So we are still involved and still active, and I think that, to show that we're in this with you. We're not just like, oh, well, we had our education, we had our lives, we're retired, it's up to you now. We're not doing that. We're not taking that position. We're in it together.
I don't know what you've been told,
I don't know what you've been
but
told.
we get strong as we get old.
We get strong as we get old.
Rage on,
Rage on,
stay strong.
stay strong. Portland raging grannies. Rage
Rage
on.
on.
We still got so low.
Too low.
What happens at Citizen?
So Citizens, the brick and mortar space. This is it. We are, this. We're a nonprofit, the
Yeah.
Media Institute for Social
Right,
Change.
right.
We teach people how to make radio and film documentaries. You've been helping with that for years.
Right.
And about a year ago, we decided we should move into a space. We're not just such a pop-up, but actually have a space. We hold events here. We have movies on a lot of Monday nights. Tuesday nights, we have classes. Wednesday nights, we do dinners with local filmmakers.
Cool.
Yeah.
What if I want a cup of coffee?
And we have a coffee shop. Yeah, we have it's coffee and tea. We're thrilled to have it. We're open most days 9-ish to 1 p.m.-ish. It's a little soft, but it's more of just to have a space where people can come in.
Alrighty.
I started tuning for Piano Push Play, I think, if I remember right, would have been about 4 years ago. And at the time, there were only 3 pianos, and I was only responsible for tuning one of them, and now there's 20 of them.
Piano Push Play is a project where I rescue pianos and I put them out on the street for anybody to play. The only time you really see classical music, or lots of keyboard piano music, is in a concert hall or in a recital hall or in a piano store, and I just wanted to bring that music to the street.
I was stumbling along and I saw these beautiful pianos in strange places, and the sign said, go ahead and sit down and play. And I thought, wonderful, since I can't carry one in my back pocket and I couldn't afford one, it was nice to see them out and about, the pianos.
I think it's really important for people to have access because, like I've seen time and time again, there's so many more people out there that find something through playing this, and it's not just people that are trained classically. There's all kinds of people that sit down and really gracefully just play around, and are obviously getting something from creating music with this instrument. Music is something that kind of really taps into a release for people, I think.
Oh, I think music is so important in your life. It just brings so much joy. It's a calmer, and it's a form of creativity, and it just it's wonderful.
I think art and culture is part of our soul. I think it's part of what makes Portland special. And it's the reason why I think we have to always do more and not take it for granted. So if we believe that art is for the people, and if what we want to do is democratize the arts, then we have to make sure that there are few barriers to experiencing art and culture.
I'd feel sad if I didn't have these pianos to play, you know. They mean an awful lot to me. I call them my girls.
This is, I think, about the third or fourth time this one in particular has gotten tuned because it gets used for so many different performances. Start in late June, go to late August. It's about 2 months.
So when the summer is over, a lot of the times people have reached out to me throughout the summer once they've seen all these pianos, and a lot of them wonder, where do they go? And they go to a big variety of places.
So when I started at ADX, Megan and Piano Push Play had a piano in the space. And so I met Megan as she would come in and help the piano tuned, and we would have people come in off the streets and play the piano. Music provides access to music to people who otherwise might not have access to those types of equipment. The heart of ADX was to provide access to tools that people couldn't otherwise afford. Megan's done that with music through her piano, so it was it made sense as a synergy.
Pianos take a lot of effort to maintain, and they're complicated instruments to build, and they're not cheap, they're not easy to move, and so a lot of people don't have access to pianos. And some of those people are people who play very well and don't have the resources to have a piano in their own personal life. And not only that, having a piano in the park I found brings a lot of people together who otherwise might not interact.
I think what the pianos around Portland do is they raise our spirits. And I hope the idea takes off, because who would have thunk it? You just put a piano in a public space and all this magic happens organically.
I think all the aspects that make this project work are in every city. I know that there are kids that play piano in every city. There's artists everywhere. So, I think this project could easily happen anywhere.
You've been making films for, since you were
Since
a little kid.
I was five. I have a photo of myself at age 5 with the Super 8 camera, and I have this puffy jacket on, which I thought was a director's jacket, big afro. It's been a couple of years.
And so, you made film when it was really scissors, tape, piecing it together.
Super 8mm, and then 16mm, and then VHS. Actually, a friend of ours had a Betamax camera, so Beta VHS, then digital tape video, DV. And then as things move to digital, it's all card-based now. It's the same stuff that goes in your phone or your camera or other kinds of things. It's all...
And it's made it obviously easier in some ways to make films and short films.
Yeah.
But what stayed the same? What hasn't changed?
Story is always the most important thing, and having confidence in your story, especially when it's something that's dealing with social, economic, racial, environmental justice issues. So much of the stuff that the Media Institute addresses, it's not so much as like what's changed in the technology as how can whatever is current or accessible be used to address these important issues.
Well, let's take a look at another one of these films then.
Cool.
It's not that I work at Free Geek because I'm a geek. I work at Free Geek because I love the community. I work at Free Geek because it's a place where you know we are giving something to the people that is empowering them to do something else.
The magic of Free Geek is that we're taking these two problems and kind of pointing them back at each other. So this idea that there's like all this stuff in the world that no one knows what to do with, all this e-waste, there's all this trash and it's toxic. And then there's all these people that don't have access to technology, that don't have computers, don't have what they need to contribute or be involved. So we get to take all the stuff that has no home and then repurpose it and give it to people who really need it. So we have kind of, this, I don't know, magic I think is a good word. This magic of taking a problem and turning it into a solution. Recycling electronics is a huge part of what we do. We recycle about 1 million pounds of e-waste a year here. And we have a recycling dumpster that collects all of our steel, and that's just the cases from the desktop computers. And those steel cases will fill up that dumpster about 1 to 2 times a week. We had for a while a teenager who had built his own 3D printer out of harvested parts. And he would come in once a month just to demo this 3D printer that he made. It was like this huge machine that was really wacky looking, and he would come in and set it up and just invite people in to see it working and ask him questions, and kind of that sense of community, of sharing knowledge, sharing skills, kind of building this non-threatening, inclusive community for adult digital literacy.
For me, the most important part of the help that Free Geek provides is the breaking of the digital barrier.
When I retired a year ago, I had started working on a computer, but it was only programs that were already set up. I've learned since I've been here how to operate a drill, how to tear a computer apart, and there's other things that I'll be learning. Here at Free Geek, you have to volunteer for 24 hours in order to obtain a computer. I have like 20 hours in, so I should be done within the next time I volunteer.
We have an intern who works at the front desk, and she came in to work with us through a community program that teaches young people job skills. So she works with us and gets paid to work with us through that program, and she was like, whoa, I get a computer for my time? And we were like, yeah, do you know 24 hours I'm going to take a computer home? And I just remember her class. She's 17, and when she got her computer and she was setting it up, and in the class, we ask everybody, what do you want to do with your computer? And she got her computer, and for the first time she was like, oh, I'm going to write a paper for school on this computer. She had written every paper on her phone, like all through high school. And just thinking about that to me was so outrageous. The idea that you would have to sit there with a smartphone, if you're lucky enough to even have that, fill out a job application, write a paper for school, file your taxes, all of those things, like doing things on phones is it's just such a barrier. And so the idea that someone would get a computer and be able to, for the first time, to like sit down and write a paper with a full keyboard and edit things was just really powerful. And I think there's lots of stories like that.
I live in an apartment building, and it's a senior and disabled apartment building I live in, so everybody can afford a computer. In fact, some of my friends are going to be coming in after me, of course. They're going to be coming in to volunteer so that they can get their own computer instead of coming to my house to use mine. You might want to edit that out.
We recognize that a lot of people don't have those 24 hours to give, and so a huge service that we offer is actually our thrift store. You can get a basic system, a desktop computer with a monitor, keyboard, mouse, all for under $100. And that comes with free classes on how to use it, as well as tech support and a warranty. So we really try to provide accessible equipment to anyone in the community, whether they can do the community service exchange or not.
The first computer I keep by myself that I work with the volunteer the whole process until he finished his computer, and I give the computer to him, walking to him to the car and feeling that happiness for him and for me was really was really something. I think that mark something in my work, something that says this is a place where you can help the community, not just my community but the whole community. This is a place where people come and can get a computer and can be with their lives and be happy. So those moments really give you the idea, this is something, this is a project that works. It's important to emphasize that we are a non-profit, that we do ask also the help from the community. It's important that the community understand that we do need donations, we do need computers, we do need people still bringing the equipment to us so we can continue doing our work. People continue helping us, we will be able to continue helping the community.
Making a film's not easy. I mean, you have to have the production skills, you have to have a vision, you have to have good characters, you have to have a good story. But I think part of the equation that people forget about is like once you've made a film, how do you get it out there?
Yeah, I mean it's like there's the making, and then there's the birthing of it, and then there's the fly off into the world, and there are more portals and channels and whatever to get out there now more than ever.
I mean, but you're always thinking about your audience, right?
Totally, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the idea. So this is what we call window cinema, this window here. And it's such a weird idea. It's like we sort of don't know who the audience is. We're just throwing films out onto the sidewalk.
Right. Which I think is like, you know, who is it for anyone to judge but the viewer? Like anyone is the audience. So like that, I don't know, that to me that's what is cool about this idea. Like,
yeah, so let's throw another film out there.
Let's put something on, let's reel it up.
Awesome.
I had no idea about this industry or how much work really went into like everyone's clothes. It's just really mind-blowing how many screen printing shops must be around the world, and like everything about this I never really knew about until I came here.
Alexander, city born, same old always more. Every night, staring off into the sky. Oh my, what makes him interesting? Is he sick? Is he weak?
My name is Alaric. I'm 20 years old and I'm the assistant manager here at New Avenues Inc. When I first started printing, it was just like, it's like magical when you pull the squeegee and then just lift it up and it's like this complex image that you could never really do that by hand. And it happens in a second too, so. This is actually probably one of my favorites, is the print right over there, because it's a 3-color. I just like anything with more than one color, like matching all the colors and then like switching screens halfway through the print and just laying down the different colors in a certain order will like change how it looks, and just little small things like that, really fun. And definitely the highlight would be like getting told that I'm going to become the assistant manager. That was pretty unexpected. It really like blew my mind, I guess. I heard about New Avenues for Youth through Craigslist, and then I was kind of in contact with my counselor the whole time, and then one day she just told me that I should check this place out. I worked at a gas station for like, well, 2 different gas stations for about a year before this, and that was okay. It was definitely a job, like I made money, but it's just not very like rewarding to me. I didn't know what to expect. I was trying not to have expectations, but I've gotten better, I feel like, at communicating with people in a way that they're gonna wanna do things. It's like we do them together, like attention to detail. And you have some bad days where you just might wanna walk out and not come back to work, but you just have to like keep going, because it'll get better, and you'll probably learn how to not make those mistakes in the future. New Avenues Inc. has definitely given me more confidence to like believe in myself that I can get better jobs in the future. Because before I kind of saw myself as like a worker, kind of like a pawn piece in the chess game. But now I just think like I could be that castle guy or a knight or something, you know? I don't know.
It's funny, it's right over there, I'm pointing up Mississippi.
Right.
They filmed some of the scenes from, I think, Put a Bird on It was filmed right up there.
Yes.
You know, the thing about Portlandia, I liked it. Saw some fun. It's funny. It's fun. It celebrated what's quirky about Portland, but I don't know that it celebrated what's earnest about Portland.
And they're different.
They are different.
They're totally different things. Yeah.
Well, they are separate. In our next film, which is about Willie Levinson and the Human Access Project, they kind of come together.
Yes. Yes.
You know, he's quirky, but he is really trying to connect people in Portland to the river, to the Willamette in particular.
Yeah.
And I think this film really describes what he's doing, and it's such a great character study of somebody that is Portlandian.
You could just see the looks on their eyes, like they're gonna swim in the Willamette. You're fucking crazy. I mean, there's a very disconnected relationship with the Willamette River in Portland. A good portion of our community, I think, feels hopeless about the Willamette River. They feel like that it has been damaged beyond repair from an environmental point of view. The fact is that there has been significant improvement in the water quality of the Willamette River over the last 60 years. There is a lot of work to be done to restore the full ecological health of the Willamette River, but as long as people feel like the Willamette River is hopeless, any advocacy will sound like white noise in the background. When I started, probably 99% of Portland thought that I was stark raving mad. Now, only 90% does. Human Access Project's mission is to transform Portland's relationship with the Willamette River. When a friend tells you that a river is polluted and you're a very busy person and they've lived here a while, you say, oh, okay, I guess the river's polluted. I mean, there's really no reason to do any further research than that. So being able to change the dialogue and have an alternative idea out there is a big part of what we're doing. People go to the big float. This year we had 2,500 people participate. I'd say roughly half of these people, it was their very first time in the Willamette River. When you get in the Willamette for the first time, your relationship is immediately reconciled, and that is your first step. When you're doing the big float, you are an unintentional activist. I mean, you're going there a lot of times for some people just thinking it's the big fun party, but by the time you get out, at some point you realize, I just took part in collective action. And, it's possible to make a difference and have fun at the same time.
Nobody here wants to hear a long speech. We want to get into this beautiful river in Poets Beach. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the official, I won't call this a kickoff, I'll call this a swim-off in Poets Beach.
All humans are drawn to this idea of livability. But in Portland, we're very good at articulating it and beating our chests about it, and it's something that we're proud of. So this is clearly a livability issue. I mean, at the point we're able to activate the Willamette, create better access to it. And I had this amazing feeling the other day when I was driving over a bridge, looking down at Poets Beach, seeing some activity down there, seeing some activity on the dock, and just thinking, yeah, this is the city that I want to live in. I mean, this is cool. I mean, I can start seeing the change happen. Because ultimately, when you add water to anything, it becomes exponentially more fun. And selfishly, I really like living in Portland, but I want to have a river that people love. And so that's a big part of what drives me to do the work.
Gosh, it's hard to even put into words what it would mean, the value it would bring to my life to have easy access for off-road cycling. I mean, ideally, Gateway Green is the sea change that the off-road cycling community has been hoping and waiting for, and that is the opportunity to help change the conversation about what off-road cycling is and who rides mountain bikes and what kind of impact they have.
I've been working as a park advocate for getting more parks in East Portland for more than 30 years. There's been a big need for a bike park in Portland area. I didn't even ride a bike when we started this project, and I since learned to ride a bike.
There's no street access. It's a super special park in that capacity that you can't just drive your car right up to Gateway Green.
It's located between two interstate highways, between Interstate 84 and Interstate 205.
When I came to mountain biking, I was fairly fresh out of college, and I wasn't quite sure who I was. And was like, okay, I guess this is it, but there's got to be something more. And so mountain biking was introduced to me. And I would go out every single weekend and learn how to ride. I found myself there. I found myself on my bike, and I found myself in the people that I was riding bikes with. I love riding my bike, but if I had the chance to do more of my commute on an unpaved surface through a treed landscape where I could hear the birds, what a beautiful way to wake up in the morning, or what a nice way to like come down from the stress of a work day. It's not the super adrenaline based daredevil hyper masculine activity. You'll see adults out there that it's clear they're trying mountain biking for the first time, just coming to our sport. And then you see little kids out there with scooter bikes. They don't even have pedals yet.
The thing that really I thought was expressed the most by the community is they wanted to make sure that there were lots of activities for young kids, that it wasn't going to be just a park mostly for grown-ups.
Go, go, go! Crazy little motion!
I'm running the Shred Academy program, and basically we teach kids from ages like 5 to 14. Today camp was really awesome. Thursdays are like our super fun day. After lunch we ride our bikes out to Gateway Green, and we have an afternoon session on the dirt, and it's the best day of the week. It's a really cool way to implement some outside riding within the Lumberyard Shred Academy. Getting to Gateway Green is actually super awesome. We talk about etiquette on the streets, looking both ways before we cross, using hand signals to turn. It only takes us about 10-15 minutes to get there, and so it's a quick trip. And we go there, we ride our butts off.
Avery, go! Come on, let's go, let's go! I got some room. Drop in, Elliot.
Hey, give me time! Give me time!
The kids are so psyched to go, and when it's time to leave, they don't want to leave. And then on Friday, they ask to go again. So it's adding a huge element to what we're doing here.
You learn by engaging with other cyclists that have been through the beginning stages that you're going through. And it's also good for those of us that have been cycling for a really long time to be able to see the enthusiasm and the joy and the fall down but get right back up and dust yourself off kind of attitude that beginners bring to our sport.
All right, we ready to head back? He's like, see you later.
So another really valuable characteristic of Gateway Green being located in East Portland is that East Portland has the highest percentage of school-age children in the entire city of Portland, but it's also our most park deficient neighborhood in the whole city. So tons of kids that need safe places to play, but they haven't had it up until now.
I think like having this sort of situation for kids is super important because there's some kids out there like myself that grew up with like ADD, and so this is really great outlet for these kids to be able to accomplish their own personal goals on their bike.
So I am optimistic that we're at a turning point right now in the city of Portland when it comes to off-road cycling access, and we're really excited that Gateway Green will stand to be the standard at which we will look and hopefully educate people that it's really open to everybody. And a really healthy way to get out there, spend some time in nature, spend time with your friends.
The more we can do to bring people together, enjoying themselves, the more they're comfortable being around each other and the more they value the diversity of the area.
We can have more of a conversation to determine where else mountain bikers could ride their bikes here in Portland.
It's because of this next film that we're about to show that I actually realized I could build a chicken coop. Some of the students made this film several years ago, and I just realized I was like, I could go across the street right there, Rebuilding Center, get some scraps, and for about $27 I built a chicken coop. So the next film actually features one of our founding board members, Sam Adams, former mayor, and his 3 chickens, Alma, Alma, and Alma.
3 chickens named Alma.
3 chickens named Alma.
I've met the man, I know the man. I didn't know all 3 were named Alma.
Yeah, well, he explains why in this next film.
Let's watch it.
All right, we're gonna go see the chickens, so follow me.
Hi, my name's Lisa Pearlstein, and this is my husband Harrison Pettit, and we are the parents and owners of 4 chickens.
Well, we've got an egg. The little bantam has laid a sweet little brown egg.
My name is Robert Litt. I'm the owner of the Urban Farm Store. Raising chickens in the city is a very sustainable thing to do. It really brings your food miles down to essentially 0.
My name's Sam Adams, and I'm mayor of the city of Portland, Oregon. The carbon footprint of raising chickens is minuscule compared to the carbon footprint of buying eggs in the store. Self-reliance of food grown in your backyard is going to be a lot more secure than food trucked in miles away or flown in from hundreds of miles away.
When the eggs don't have to travel, you're cutting down on the amount of fuel that was used to transport them. As well as even in a farm situation, there's usually a lot more fuel and energy used than you would at home to produce the eggs because they're doing everything at a bigger scale.
It's a bit of a novelty, by modern standards to do it. I mean, we tell people in other cities, and they're like, chickens,
Yeah.
I think it's sort of funny, but it integrates well, and really, the greatest thrill is to, on a rainy, muddy, winter day, to come out, take your slippers off and put on mud boots and kind of trudge out there like, gotta go feed the livestock. It's a little touch of the farm in an urban area, and it's very manageable.
So I have 3 chickens, 3 different kinds, and they're all named Alma. They were named by my chief of staff's 6-year-old daughter. And I said, what should I name my chickens? And she said, Alma. And I said, well, what should I name the other 2? And she said, Alma and Alma.
So there they are. 2 Minorcas, 1 speckled Hamburg, and 1 little frizzle bantam. So let's go in and see them. So we've got two of their brooding boxes. This is where they like to lay their eggs. And in fact, the bantam has got a egg that's still warm. It's that little frizzle bantam, and it just laid this little brown egg. Thank you. And then this is their coop, which was made out of just excess lumber and scraps that we had in the garage, just taking up space.
And the byproducts of, raising chickens, being able to use that to then grow gardens. I think I've got the best squash in Portland because I've got this super chicken fertilizer, and it's, you know, I have to walk exactly 4 feet from the production of the fertilizer in the chicken coop to my squash beds here in the garden.
And I think to take food matter that you would throw away and then instead feed it to the chickens and then they use it to make food is pretty remarkable.
So if you have a garden, there's a tighter circle of sustainability, and it feels like you're kind of getting, frankly, free eggs.
It all works together in a way that makes Portland more food self-reliant, more environmentally sustainable, and, you know, it's a better place to live.
Eyes like omens, I've been told, and friends are found when keys are stolen. Find the keys, the corn is golden. Friends have golden hearts and souls, and wise blue eyes, amazing cold when hearts are far apart and broken. When the sky is open wide, pigeons bound to the roadside, breaking backbones as I drive, blue like never mind.
One of the things I think, just to provide context about these films that we're showing here on Window Cinema, a lot of these are college students who came to Portland for the summer to learn how to make films. A lot of them had the desire for some sort of social impact, but they didn't really have the media tools.
Right.
You know, and I think that's one of the cool things in 7 weeks that you can learn how to make a short film. Yeah, and I think one of our philosophies is definitely just throwing people into the deep end.
Yes,
You know, it's
absolutely.
like, here's a camera, go make a film, we'll help you along the way.
Right.
You know, we do host classes here at Citizen.
Right.
I also give a shout out to Open Signal, who has provided the equipment for here. It's such an incredible program. You can go take a week-long immersion program and then have lifetime access to cameras, the latest in
Through them,
technology.
right.
It's such a
Right.
cool program.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Another film?
Sure.
Another film. Let's
Dig
show
it.
it. All right.
So Wage Working is a community-based oral history project where we interview workers in the community about their work and their relationship to labor, and we take those stories and we edit them down to the length of time it takes that worker to earn $1.
And it's like not that hard to get to the next step, which is like, oh wow, so the people who make the least talk the longest. I mean, bam, like if that's all someone gets, that power reversal and just thinking about how long does it take me to make $1 versus someone else, like we're on our way to having that conversation.
In some ways, it's a terrible idea to make a project that's housed within a 450-pound giant structure that needs to be moved around every month. In some ways, that's a not great choice. But in other ways, it's super exciting because we're able to take art in places and this conversation to places it might not exist otherwise.
My name is John Jackson.
I am a installer slash
I'm a certified
Today, the
professional.
job is moving
I've been playing the piano since I was 6 years old. My mom was a private teacher.
My name's Paul. I am a installer slash I can't really say I like it, but it pays my bills. And this physical labor BS is exactly what it is. BS.
I work for myself, and I make my own books and put them together, and then I bring them out onto the street and I sell them to people that walk by.
But you learn by doing it. You can't really teach somebody to do the work of midwifery by reading a book. It's a full sensory experience. It's like, what do you see? What do you hear? Like, how does the air feel in the room?
It is really interesting to think about what the stakes are and talking about wage and what makes it uncomfortable. I mean, I think that part of it is this message that you can lose your job if you talk about your wage, if you talk about what you face in the workplace.
Even sharing how much you make per hour is a political act, right? And is sort of the first hurdle that we do in our field work.
My name is Rochelle Dixon, and I actually produce an audio for the jukebox. I think hearing it is a little different than seeing a number on a piece of paper. A number on a piece of paper is not personal. It's just a person makes this wage, and there may not be that good connection that you can get with the audio. And as you hear this tape going on and on and on, at some point it occurs to you, wow, he hasn't earned $1 yet.
You don't tell people how long that takes that person, or you don't tell them what their wage is. Even if the story's been going on for 9 minutes, there's a moment in which you're like, oh, I'm still here listening to this story because that person still hasn't earned $1 yet.
So having a jukebox means you can push a few buttons and get an idea of what other folks in your community are making. You might just tend to associate with people who look like you, who work and make the same amount of money that you do, and so then there's a whole group of people whose stories don't get told. And so if it's in the community, then you can cross all those boundaries pretty easily.
Listening is a form of recognition, and listening is a form of celebration, and sometimes that in and of itself is a political act, is to listen to people's stories. And it's the very least we can do as humans in this economy and in this society, is to listen to one another.
This is all of my writing. That, and then that on the bed too. And then some new stuff in my phone. I'm a writing junkie. I was actually the first person in my family to go to college. And everybody in my family is really smart. They just never went to college. But the path after that, I basically married the wrong person. The worst thing about being homeless was just feeling powerless. You just felt like you were gonna be there forever and there was nothing anybody could do or say that would change your path. As a woman, it's really hard to be on the street. You know, I've seen some women do horrible things just to fend off male attackers. I mean, they don't shower and things like that, and it's just horrible. Like, we really need to protect our women on the streets. I always felt like, I mean, since 3rd grade, very blessed to just have the talent and gift of poetry. And to have a mom and dad that kind of fostered my talent from a very young age. And I always felt like poetry definitely conquered everything, and it was my rock through many storms in my life. When I first got diagnosed with the multiple sclerosis symptoms, so basically I was in the women's shelter. I was getting this backache that never went away, and I was getting these stabbing pains up and down my legs. It's very painful. There's times where I'll take a 2-hour nap and I will wake up on my bed and I literally cannot get up, and I will slide out of bed and I will crawl to get my cane, and it's very painful, and nobody sees that but me. Yeah. It's really embarrassing. I have to crawl across the floor. It gives me partial paralysis, so it's like, think about waking up and just not being able to move.
Her infirmities make it hard for her to get by sometimes, but I think she does a pretty good job with that, and especially with, I don't know, for the kind of disease she has, she really rises to the occasion, I guess. But she's got a really big heart, and she's a really nice girl. She's also a very good poet, too.
I've just learned again to take joy in the little things, and I've learned that you can really count on people during hard times, and I've also learned that it's very important to surround yourself with positivity. Finding a job when you're homeless is almost near impossible. I did it. So, I mean, homeless people, most of them are not lazy. Sometimes I didn't have any storage room for my things. So I was interviewing for a preschool job at Vermont Family Hills Learning, and I had to stash my big suitcase behind a garbage can and just hope no one took it. It's you know, you go in with dirty hair, and yeah, it was just horrible. It's almost near impossible to find a job when you're homeless.
I would not believe that anybody could be that cheerful, you know, and I had to meet her to realize that she's genuinely a happy person and shares that. I know she has her pain, but she overcomes that and shares her happiness.
You know, the sad part is I go downtown and I see some of the same women, and they're still homeless and I'm not. So I kind of have like homeless survivor's guilt. It's really weird. I mean, I can sit here and say the most average of people and talented people too, you can find right on the street. Blue butterfly crush with unmovable arms, she tries to fly above. She is always stuck on the ground. She wants to be invisible. She is too powerful, too vulnerable, too beautiful to remain invisible. She clenches her jaw and stares at the world with both eyes open. A blue gaze that could tear your heart apart in mere minutes. She is composed of beauty and light and proves this daily. She is a woman. She may not have a home, but she has a name. She has a purpose. She has dreams, and you ought to get to know her because she is the best thing that will ever happen to you.
It's probably a good thing I'm not healthy, because if I go back on the court, it's gonna be bad for everybody.
Like you get back and.
Oh, I just dominate on the court. I grew up in East Palo Alto, California, which is a pretty rough neighborhood. But I was very grounded by my grandmother, so she didn't let me get in trouble. She was very strict. I was a pretty good student, straight A's. I did all the nerd stuff, they would have called it. Played sports a lot. Basketball became my main focus, and math. I loved math at the time. And then transferred to Southern Oregon University. Some gymnasiums, the fans would call me Snoop Dogg, because he's tall and skinny and I would wear braids. So every time we played University of Oregon, and every time I touched the ball, the crowd would raise their arms and say, Snoop. And then whether I passed or shot it, they'd say, Dog. A year after college, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called scleroderma. Sclero means hardening and tightening. Derma means skin. So they call it that because that's when you recognize, that's when you can see something's wrong. Scleroderma is usually middle-aged women's disease is what they used to call it, but you're rare if you're a male, you're rare if you're in your early 20s, which I was, and then if you're African American or East Indian, those are like your higher mortality rates. And so, as in hockey, it was the hat trick. The disease progressed to where I'm 6'6", and I dropped to 120 pounds. Had acid reflux, which makes it hard to eat. Vitiligo, which is pigment loss. And you can see with my hands, so the skin was tightening so much they were balling into a fist. I remember, the first symptoms was I couldn't palm a basketball anymore. I couldn't hold a cup of coffee. My friends were calling me a ventriloquist. I mean, I was like this, couldn't move. And I can't raise my arms because the shoulders got too tight. Can't straighten my arms because they got too tight. 2012, I had a stem cell transplant. Now, a lot of patients have lung and hearts, so they get better. But my problems was the joints. I had already contracted so bad, a lot of ligament, scar tissue, and tendon damage, which is not autoimmune, of course, so they can't reverse that. 2 days later, Thanksgiving morning, that's when I first noticed my skin started loosening. And I was like, oh snap, I can move my wrist. In June, I found the Dyer Foundation and wheelchair-based yoga, since I can't stand up or get to the ground easily. And they've been very accommodating. They have someone set aside to help me with a lot of the poses because, as you see with my limitations, I still can't do some of the basics alone. They extended a scholarship, so that was great. They have a normal exercise. One of us will come up with an idea of how I can still get that same stretch. They'll just adapt to my limitations and range of motion.
I know that he is a very hard-working man and very dedicated to trying to better his situation. That he's got such an amazing spirit.
I'll reach out to people in the community and just say, hey, this is my story. I was here, I was an athlete, got a degree in criminology, was working in the field, and then I ended up in this situation. Now I'm trying to get back. No doctor can really tell me what to do because they never seen it. I'm one of those people that you tell me something that as long as it's not a super high, risk of death or injury, I'm in it. I'll try a lot of things. I can't foresee the future because I don't know what it is, but I do know I'll be back working. Every 6 or 7 months, I need less help doing a lot of things. Every day I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do next, as far as a year or two from now, like when I'm gonna get back to work. My whole 90% of the day, I'm just thinking about getting better and getting back to work. The biggest thing with a disease that can disable you is being active. And the people around you don't even want to be around. They don't want to see no one deteriorating and not trying to get better.
Arion, he's involved, he has that community of support, and so maybe when some of his friends and associates see the benefits that he's been able to derive from coming here, that maybe more people will come.
I'll get to the point where maybe I can shoot free throws from a weird angle, but can still go out and play.
It's still pretty fresh.
As I was getting released from prison and putting on real clothes, nothing fit. My shoes were too big, pants were too little. When I took a bus ride to Portland, I just looked out the window, thought about what I wanted to eat, thought about getting some cranberry juice, thought about making chocolate chip cookies. Like, I used to dream about chocolate chip cookies repetitively. That's what I wanted to do. Then I just walked around downtown for 3 hours, kind of refamiliarizing myself with my hometown. Just kind of just took it all in. It just smelled like fresh air, My name is Emmanuel Price. I am the creator of Scape. I ended up hanging out with some idiot friends, making an idiot mistake, and basically ended up going to prison for close to 5 years for armed robbery. Within a minute of my life, everything changed. I couldn't wait to get out, but everybody feels the same thing. Hope, angst, scared a little bit. They don't admit it, but they are. I left Portland, I was fed up. I was like, I can't get a job, it's hard, so I moved to Atlanta. Within 2 weeks of being in Atlanta, I had a job. About 6 weeks after that, I had a second job. Then going into my second month, I had an apartment. And I was just like overtaken with emotion. I was like, man, I got a second chance. And then I just played with that and I was like, second chances are for everyone. Like I had to come to Atlanta for all this. I couldn't get into my hometown. That's how Scape started. I spend a lot of time just one-on-ones, having lunch or breakfast or just having coffee with them. We do resume writing, mock interviewing. If they need alcohol or drug resources or help, I can resource them out to different agencies and kind of just share my story with them and kind of helping them walk through and navigate themselves back into society. This is an institutional problem and that it's designed to keep people, especially communities of color, in those areas, basically not being successful educationally, financially, by way of employment. So the recidivism rate is real. Recidivism is just relapsing into an old or negative behavior that landed you into a negative consequence like prison or jail in the first place. As I applied for this job, I turned in my application. The story goes I was hired, fired, rehired, fired, and then hired again. And because of that, I missed my daughter's first field trip, which is something that I had waited, all of her life for. It was heartbreaking.
City Council is considering a hot button issue right now as we speak.
Should employers be able to ask about a potential worker's criminal history on a job application form? The mayor's proposed Ban the Box ordinance would prevent that.
Ban the Box is a law that passed most recently. It's House Bill 3025. It increases the chance for people to be hired and even interviewed by 100%. If you were my employer, I would be able to sell myself on my talent, my work history, and be personable with you and kind of establish that relationship rather than you looking at the application like, oh, you have a felony, let's see what that's about. And you just throw my application aside. Something small to us, like maybe getting an ID card or putting on a brand new pair of jeans or a button-up shirt, like to see their face light up, it does a lot for me. I know how serious it is. Like, this is not something like I thought I would ever want to do with my life. I want to go into the restaurant business. I wanted to be a business owner, but because I was so affected by going to prison, and I know all the emotions that people go through and just how hopeless it can be. I get joy just from talking to people, just from being able to identify, say, hey man, I've been there too. I go through it every day. You'll get there eventually. You have to do the groundwork first. Like we've already done the hardest part, which is surviving through prison and parole and probation. Getting employers to see the significance of a human being, of a life, of employment. We've all done something. We've all had a second chance, and if we didn't, I'm sure we would all take that opportunity to right a wrong in our life.
That's the interesting thing about the clowns is we were trying to find ways to behave as terribly as possible and get paid for it and save the world. I'm Dingo Gizmo. Yeah, I'm just a clown. Just a regular, everyday clown. It was a clown house. We moved in our clown organization, who were part activists, part forest defenders, and part punk rock band that was clown themed. We've made it a focus to draw people. We went to every single protest we could go to. We went and got involved with everything we could do, plus all the band stuff we were doing. We were around all these folks. There was always flyers. Then they'd come to our house, and sometimes we'd just set something weird up. And part of it was to make enough scene for them to look at us, and then we could give them our propaganda for the stuff we had been studying. And we did a lot of stuff to take care of the neighborhood. Like we had a free bike shop, and as we were doing it, we started getting a lot of donations. People would bring their bikes, people would bring a bunch of food, anything to keep us going. It was worth it to them. So we had a whole lot of support at that clown house. And then it got so big that we could no longer afford to live there. We got classed out right away. The whole character of the neighborhood changed. It started homogenizing. And now when I go down Alberta Street, I don't recognize most of it. The clowns are the gentrification Marines. The first one's into the neighborhood that's a bad neighborhood, and the first one's out of the neighborhood because they can't afford to be there anymore. In the end, they took off to start another clown house without me. And I just got to be a homeless guy that used to have a big giant organization. What am I going to do?
Go 1, 1, 1, count 2, 2, 2, and now 3, 3, 3, 3, count 4, 4, 4, 4, count 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, now back.
I was a waitress, I was an artist, and Dingo literally was like, you should quit your job and do stuff with me.
And she did it. She quit her job, she became a clown, and she became a better clown than me. And that started a whole new life that I like to call the golden age.
My name is Olive Root Beer. I was the new chapter. Well, I am an entertainer. I'm a clown. I'm a balloonist. I am kind of like a fairy, kind of like a doll, and I'm a wife as well.
She invented me into the more crowd-friendly dingo. I'm still a clown, and I'm still doing all the stuff I used to do, just for kids now instead of for people in nightclubs.
The person that Dingo came out of from the clown house, I got to have all the best parts of that.
So now we're clowns in cafes, and we're doing the same stuff that we did before at the clown house, but in a different way.
Poverty is a bitch. Poverty really, like, it stresses you out so much that sometimes you can't see past the end of your nose. I guarantee you, we've had many times where we're like, we can't do this anymore. We're on food stamps. We barely have any money. I don't even know how we're going to pay for rent next month. You want to keep everything, but you can't. And then somehow we get through it.
I definitely don't want to be known as the gentrification guy. My kind of clown is doing a secular monk thing, but we don't have to. We could spend most of our time in a car being clowns in all of the burbs where all the money is, and we'd be swimming in it.
But that's not what this community needs. We're here because the people want us to be here.
Right now, our main goal is to stay Portlanders, because all of the prices are going up just like they always have. I've never left a house because I wanted to. I've always been priced out of a house. So we're trying to figure out how to get a TV show or something that would get us a living wage so we can guarantee that we would stay here.
The goal is to make a name for ourselves and to build our fan base and our popularity. And if they keep putting money in our jar, then we can keep coming back.
Thank you so much, kids.
Why did I stay here in Portland? I love Dingo and I love this town.
It's a great town to be a clown. It's a great town to be a clown. It's a great town to be a clown. Where is it? Portland!
We bring artificial sunshine to people in our city. When you entertain an entire crowd and they're cheering for you, but they're like looking at each other and they're having such a great time. It's the best thing you could imagine to make somebody smile.
And then go. Ready for fun? See folks around here are used to the rain. No hiding inside. We still bike and hike and take the train. You can find your clothes in a box. I don't care the color of your socks. Baby, we're in Portland. Portland, Puddle Town. Yeah!